Picture this. The world outside my window is a canvas of muted gold and gray, the kind of morning where the sun seems to hesitate before breaking through the mist. I'm Melanie, 75 years young, and as I stand here in my kitchen, the scent of fresh coffee curling through the air, I can't help but feel the weight of a lifetime in every creak of these old floorboards. Ryan, my husband, is already out on the porch, his silhouette framed against the dawn, a quiet figure hunched over his newspaper, as he's done for more years than I can count. We've been married for over 5 decades, a tapestry of days woven so tightly together that sometimes I can't tell where one of us ends and the other begins. There's a language between us, unspoken but clear as day, a glance, a sigh, the way he nudges my elbow with his when he knows I'm lost in thought. It's the comfort of routine, the rhythm of our mornings, the way we shuffle through life with a kind of gentle predictability. Ryan's always been my anchor, steady as the earth itself, a man of few words but endless thoughtfulness. I've seen him weather storms, literal and otherwise, with that same calm resolve, his hands always ready to fix what's broken, whether it's a leaky faucet or a heavy heart. This weekend, though, we're stepping out of our familiar dance. We're heading to a mountain lake, a place that feels like it's been carved out of a dream, where towering pines stand like silent sentinels, and the water is so clear you can see the pebbles at the bottom, each one polished by time. It's a spot Ryan and I have escaped to over the years, a sanctuary where the world's noise fades into nothing but the rustle of leaves and the lap of waves. We're not going alone this time. Joining us are Derek, Ryan's old friend, and Lana, the woman who somehow captured Derek's roguish heart. Derek's in his late 60s, a man with a quick smile and a twinkle in his eye that hints at 1,000 untold stories. He's the kind of person who can charm a room without even trying, always ready with a quip or a wink, though I've often wondered what lies beneath that easy grin. Lana, on the other hand, is a burst of color in our muted world. She's in her early 40s, vibrant and carefree, the kind of woman who seems to live for the sheer joy of the moment. Her laughter rings like a bell, sharp and bright, and I can't help but marvel at how she moves through life with such unapologetic lightness, so different from the measured steps Ryan and I take. I'm looking forward to this getaway more than I can say. There's something about packing a picnic basket, tucking in a bottle of wine, and imagining the 4 of us sprawled out on a blanket by the lake that fills me with a quiet thrill. I can already see it, Ryan slicing apples with that old pocket knife of his, the one he's carried since we were barely more than kids, while the rest of us chatter away under the sun. The drive up to the lake with Ryan is a memory in itself. The 2 of us tucked into our weathered sedan, windows rolled down just enough to let the crisp mountain air swirl around us. The sunlight filters through the trees lining the winding road, casting dappled patterns across the dashboard, and I can't help but reach over to rest my hand on Ryan's knee, feeling the familiar warmth of him beside me. The tires crunch over gravel as we finally pull into the clearing by the lake, the sound a rough, satisfying note that signals we've arrived at our little slice of paradise. I step out, breathing in the scent of pine and damp earth, and for a moment, it's like the years melt away. I'm not 75, just a woman standing on the edge of something timeless. We find the perfect spot, a soft, grassy patch right by the water's edge, where the lake glitters like a sheet of glass under the midday sun. Ryan and I spread out our worn plaid blanket, the one that's seen countless picnics and lazy afternoons, while Derek and Lana haul over the baskets of food we've packed. There are sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, a mix of turkey and cheese that I made this morning, along with a bundle of grapes and some sliced watermelon that drips sweet juice down our chins later. We've even brought along a couple of bottles of red wine, nothing fancy, just the kind that tastes like long, unhurried conversations. As we unpack, Derek launches into a story from way back when he and Ryan were young bucks, something about a misadventure involving a borrowed boat and a very angry farmer. His voice booms with humor, hands gesturing wildly, and Lana's giggle cuts through the air, echoing across the water like a melody. I catch Ryan's eye, and there's that quiet smile of his, the one that always seems to say more than words ever could. It warms me from the inside out, a reminder of why I've loved him all these years. After eating, we decide to take a dip in the lake. The water is cool against my skin, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the day, and I wade in slowly, letting it lap at my ankles before diving under. It's refreshing, almost rejuvenating, washing away the stiffness in my joints. I float on my back for a while, staring up at the endless blue sky, not a cloud in sight, just an expanse of pure, unblemished color. Around me I hear the others splashing and laughing. Lana's playful shrieks as Derek pretends to dunk her, Ryan's low chuckle as he swims nearby, always close enough that I feel his presence, even with my eyes closed. Eventually we drag ourselves back to the blanket, dripping and grinning, and sprawl out to dry under the sun. I sip wine from a plastic cup, the taste of it sharp and fruity on my tongue, while the warmth of the day seeps back into my bones. The lake stretches out before us, a mirror of calm, and for a while, everything feels perfect. But then Ryan stands up, brushing off his shorts, and mumbles something about gathering more firewood for later. He's always been like that, thinking ahead, making sure we're taken care of. I watch him disappear into the line of trees, his familiar gait steady and unhurried, until he's swallowed by the shadows of the pines. The blanket feels a little emptier without him, the air shifting just slightly, like the world is holding its breath. Lana's lying a few feet away, stretched out on her back with her sunglasses slipping down her nose, dozing under the sun's lazy caress. Her breathing is slow, almost rhythmic, and I can't help but smile at how peaceful she looks, like she hasn't a care in the world. Derek and I are still sitting up, propped on our elbows, chatting about nothing in particular, old movies, the way the clouds are starting to gather on the horizon, whether we'll get rain before the day's out. It's easy conversation, the kind that fills the silence without demanding much. But then Derek shifts closer to me, reaching across for the wine bottle near my side. His knee brushes against mine, a fleeting touch that I tell myself is accidental, just a clumsy moment. I don't think much of it at first, but then his hand lingers as he pulls back, his fingers grazing mine with a slowness that feels anything but casual. My breath catches in my throat, a sudden hitch I can't control, as an electric jolt shoots through me, sharp and unexpected. I glance at him, startled, and find his gaze locked on mine, intense and unapologetic, like he's been waiting for this exact moment. His hand moves again, this time under the guise of adjusting his position on the blanket, but his fingers slide along my thigh, deliberate and warm through the thin fabric of my sundress. My skin prickles at the contact, every nerve suddenly awake, and I'm frozen, caught between shock and something else, something I haven't felt in years, a rush of heat that blooms low in my stomach. The sun beats down on us, relentless, and the sound of the lake lapping at the shore seems louder somehow, amplifying the surreal haze of this moment. Derek's voice drops to a whisper, so low I almost miss it over the pounding of my own heart. He won't know. Or if he does, he'll like it. The words hang in the air, heavy and dangerous, and I feel them like a punch, a challenge, a dare. Inside, I'm a storm of conflict. 50 years with Ryan, decades of loyalty, of shared mornings and quiet nights, of weathering every hardship side by side, clash violently with this sudden, inexplicable desire. I've never looked at Derek this way, never even entertained the thought. But now, with his hand still on my thigh, and his eyes burning into mine, I'm unraveling. I should pull away, laugh it off, remind him of where we are and who I am. But my body betrays me. My breath is shallow, my mind spinning, and before I can stop myself, I lean into it. The betrayal unfolds right there on the blanket by the lake. A secret carved out in the open air. The grass beneath me is rough against my skin, each blade pressing into me like a tiny accusation. And the scent of Derek's cologne, something woody and sharp, mixes with the earthy smell of the ground. My heart is a drum in my chest, loud and frantic, as the world narrows to the heat of his touch, the weight of his breath against my ear, the way everything feels both wrong and intoxicatingly alive. Every detail burns into me, the way the sunlight glints off the lake, casting fleeting reflections across us. The distant call of a bird somewhere in the trees, oblivious to the line I've just crossed. The faint taste of wine still lingering on my lips as I lose myself in the moment. It's like I'm outside myself watching this unfold, a stranger in my own skin, unable to pull back from the edge I've stumbled over. The guilt is a living thing, clawing at the edges of my mind, but it's drowned out by the raw, pulsing immediacy of what's happening. And then, just as the world seems to tilt on its axis, I hear it, the faint crack of a twig snapping underfoot, a sound so small yet so deafening in the charged silence. My head jerks up, my heart seizing in my chest, and there he is, Ryan, standing at the edge of the clearing, a bundle of firewood cradled in his arms, his face unreadable in the dappled shadow of the trees. I freeze, every muscle locking tight, as if I could somehow disappear into the blanket beneath me. Derek pulls back slightly, his hand slipping away, but the damage is done. The air crackles with something unspoken, something heavy and sharp, and I can't breathe, can't think, can't do anything but stare at my husband, the man I've built a life with, as he sees me in a way I never imagined he would. The firewood slips from his grasp, hitting the ground with a dull, hollow thud that reverberates through me like a gunshot. His movements are slow, deliberate, each step measured as he walks not toward me, but past me, toward Lana, who's still lying there in the sun, oblivious to the storm that's about to break over us all. I watch, my hands trembling in my lap as he stops just above her, his shadow falling across her sun-warmed skin. She stirs, pushing her sunglasses up with a lazy hand, a sleepy smile curving her lips as she squints up at him. But then she sees his face, and that smile falters, replaced by a flicker of confusion. I want to scream, to run, to do something to stop whatever is about to happen. But I'm rooted to the spot, my body a traitor once again. Ryan's eyes find mine for a moment, and they're not angry, not even hurt, just piercing, like twin blades cutting straight through to the marrow of my soul. It's a look I've never seen before, one that strips me bare, and I feel smaller than I ever have in all our years together. He turns away from me then, his gaze dropping back to Lana, and with a slow, almost methodical motion, he peels off his shirt, letting it fall to the ground beside him. The familiar lines of his body, lines I've traced with my hands 1,000 times over the decades, suddenly seem foreign, alien in this context, under this unforgiving light. My stomach churns, a wave of nausea rising in my throat as he lowers himself to the blanket beside her, his movements steady, purposeful. His voice cuts through the silence, loud and clear, each word a jagged edge that slices into me. Now you're with me. Right here. Let her watch. The words hang in the air, cold and deliberate, a mirror held up to my own betrayal, reflecting it back at me with cruel precision. Lana's eyes widen, her body tensing for just a heartbeat, a flash of hesitation crossing her face. But then, as if pulled by some invisible thread, she complies, shifting closer to him, her movements uncertain but obedient. I can't look away, even though every part of me screams to. It's surreal, a nightmare unfolding in broad daylight, right there on the same worn plaid blanket where we laughed over sandwiches just hours ago, under the same endless blue sky that felt so pure and untainted. Ryan, my Ryan, the man who's been my rock, my constant, acts with a cold intent I've never seen in him, a calculated sharpness that turns my blood to ice. My vision blurs at the edges, the world tilting and spinning as if I'm underwater, drowning in the weight of what I'm witnessing. My heart pounds like a trapped animal's, slamming against my ribs so hard I'm sure it'll break free. The nausea surges again, bitter and sharp at the back of my throat, and I press a shaky hand to my mouth, trying to hold myself together when everything inside me is shattering. I'm still sitting there, frozen on the blanket, as the weight of what's happened, what's still happening, crashes over me like a tidal wave, pulling me under with no hope of surfacing. The four of us are here, exposed in every sense of the word, our skin damp with sweat, our breaths uneven, our clothes discarded or disheveled in a way that feels obscene under the bright, unrelenting sun. There's no hiding now, no pretending this is anything other than what it is. The silence that settles over us is suffocating, so thick it presses against my chest, making every inhale a struggle. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of something heavier, something that chokes the air and binds us together in this awful, shared reality. The lake continues to shimmer in the background, its surface untouched by the chaos we've unleashed, reflecting the sky with an innocence that mocks me. The warmth of the sun still kisses my bare shoulders, but it feels wrong now, tainted, like even the light itself has turned against us, illuminating every mistake, every betrayal. I can't help but notice the smallest details, as if my mind is grasping for anything to anchor itself amidst the storm raging inside me. There's a single bead of sweat tracing a slow path down Derek's temple, catching the light for a fleeting second before it disappears into the gray stubble along his jaw. He's sitting a few feet away, his posture rigid, his eyes fixed on some distant point across the lake, as if he can't bear to face any of us. Lana is curled in on herself, her knees drawn up to her chest, her gaze resolutely averted, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Her fingers fidget with the edge of the blanket, picking at a loose thread with a nervous intensity that betrays the turmoil beneath her silence. And Ryan, my Ryan, sits just beyond her, his chest rising and falling with breath so steady so controlled. It's almost unnerving. It's as if he's forcing himself to remain calm, to hold on to some semblance of the man I've always known, even after what he's done, what we've all done. His hands rest loosely on his knees, but I can see the tension in his knuckles, the way the skin stretches tight over bone, a silent testament to the restraint he's clinging to. Then my eyes find his. It's inevitable, like gravity pulling me toward him, even when I want to look away, to hide from the truth I know I'll see there. The moment our gazes lock, time seems to stretch into an unbearable eternity, each second dragging on until it feels like years. There's no rage in his eyes, no fiery anger or accusation, and somehow that's worse. Instead, there's a brutal, unflinching honesty, a rawness that cuts deeper than any shouted words or bitter recriminations ever could. It's a look that strips away every layer I've built around myself, every excuse, every justification, leaving me bare and vulnerable under his scrutiny. In that endless moment, I realize we've crossed a line far beyond fidelity, beyond the vows we spoke all those decades ago. We've shattered something fundamental, something at the very core of our marriage, something I'm not sure can ever be pieced back together. It's not just about what I did with Derek or what he did with Lana. It's about the unspoken agreement we've broken, the trust that's been fractured in a way that feels irreparable. My thoughts spiral, a chaotic whirlwind I can't control, as I grapple with the reality of what's unfolded here by this beautiful, cursed lake. I've betrayed Ryan, the man who's been my constant through every storm, the man who's held my hand through sickness and sorrow, who's laughed with me over the smallest joys. And yet, he's betrayed me too, with a cold precision that still sends a shiver down my spine when I think of his words, his actions. There's a strange, twisted symmetry to it, a dark mirror reflecting our mutual destruction. I've spent over 50 years building a life with him, a history etched into every shared glance, every quiet morning, every late own. As the weight of that moment by the lake lingers in the air, we eventually begin to move, though it feels like we're all trapped in some kind of slow-motion haze. I watch as Derek stands first, brushing off his shorts with jerky, mechanical motions, his face still turned away from the rest of us. Lana follows, gathering her things with trembling hands, her usual brightness dimmed to a flicker. Ryan and I are the last to rise, and when I finally push myself up from the blanket, my knees wobble like I've forgotten how to stand. We pack up the picnic in silence, each of us moving like automatons, our actions stiff and robotic. I fold the plaid blanket with meticulous care, smoothing out every crease, as if that could somehow erase the creases in what we've done. The clink of empty wine bottles as they're tucked back into the basket sounds unnaturally loud, each noise a reminder of the laughter that filled this space just hours ago. No one looks at anyone else. Our eyes are fixed on the ground, on our hands, on anything but each other. It's as if meeting a gaze would force us to acknowledge the raw, ugly truth of what's happened. And none of us are ready for that. Not yet. The walk back to the car feels endless, the crunch of gravel underfoot the only sound breaking the oppressive quiet. I trail behind the others, my arms wrapped around myself, trying to hold in the pieces of me that feel like they're splintering apart. The lake glitters off to the side, still serene, still untouched by the chaos we've left in our wake, and I almost resent it for its indifference. When we reach the sedan, I slide into the passenger seat beside Ryan without a word. He starts the engine, and the low hum fills the space between us, a steady drone that becomes the only sound on the drive home. I stare out the window, watching the pines blur past, their dark shapes merging into a wall of green and shadow. My reflection flickers in the glass, a ghostly version of myself I don't recognize. And I wonder if Ryan sees the same stranger when he looks at me. I don't dare glance at him, though I can feel the weight of his presence beside me, heavy and unyielding. The air in the car is thick with unspoken words, with questions neither of us has the courage to ask. And I'm grateful for the engine's noise, because it drowns out the silence that would otherwise suffocate us. When we finally pull into our driveway, the familiar sight of our home feels like a mockery. This place, with its sagging porch and weathered siding, has always been our sanctuary, a testament to the life we've built together over decades. But now, as I step out of the car and follow Ryan inside, it feels like we're intruders in our own story. We don't speak as we move through the house, shedding our shoes by the door, setting the picnic basket on the counter with a dull thud. That night we sit in the living room, the old couch sagging under our weight, the flickering light of the television casting long shadows across the walls. We're not watching whatever's on. The screen is just a distraction, a pretense of normalcy neither of us believes in. I'm curled into one corner of the couch, a throw blanket draped over my legs, while Ryan sits at the other end, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. We're still not speaking, not even attempting the small talk that used to come so easily. And yet, in that heavy, wordless space, there's a strange kind of understanding blooming between us. It's not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but it's an acknowledgement. We've seen each other at our worst, stripped down to the bone, and somehow we're still here, still sharing this room, this life. I think about that as the hours tick by, the darkness outside deepening until the windows reflect only our own pale faces. We're still together, Ryan and I. Despite everything, despite the betrayal that unfolded under the sun and the cold retaliation that followed, we haven't walked away from each other. I don't know if that's strength or stubbornness, but as we sit in silence, watching the night envelop the world outside, I realize that perhaps it's a little bit of both, and maybe that's enough for now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.